Hi, welcome to Diving into Deeper Waters. I am your host, Erin Rolling. Do I even know how to say my last name? I think it just goes with the fact that I am exhausted. I am so tired. I don't even know where to begin. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Even on Sunday, I led worship and I thought, I got this. I can do this. A song that I have sang so many times. I messed up the words so badly. We listened to the recording and I was like, it was worse than I even thought. And so second service, no big deal. We don't record it, no biggie, but it was first service and it was like, it's there for all to hear. So do you want to hear how bad it was? It was the second song and I started right off messing it up. So so annoying to just not feel like your brain is working correctly. I think I have had 5 events in 1 month, and they're not small events. They've been big events. I might have even mentioned this in the last podcast. I can't even remember. So we're just going with it. I think I was very ambitious. I mean, it was all really good things. It wasn't like anything that I didn't want to do or I was dreading doing or any of those things. It was all things that were very important to me. I was very excited to do. They were my joy, but sometimes you just bite off way more than you can handle. And even though I had lots of help with all of it, which definitely could not have done it with everyone's help, I think my brain is just tired of planning. It's just tired. So please show grace to me in this podcast if you're like, what is she saying? Or if I can't remember a word. It's probably going to be really bad if I can't remember a word because it will probably never come to me. But that's all okay. It is interesting to me, though, when I think about when we push ourselves, and you all can relate. You've all had seasons of life. You have pushed yourself to past the max. I know that there's been times in my life where my body just has given out on me. And there is a point where we push and push and push, where eventually our body is just like not having it. They're done. It's over. And we just think we can keep going. And our body will just start to do random things to let us know that it's not on board anymore. Like, we have pushed it too far. I have some weird rash. I know you really care. I'm really like, TMI, but okay, if it was in a weird place, I would not tell you. But it's on my shins. Of all places, it's like on my shins. And people are like, is it poison ivy? It's nowhere else on my body. Although I will say all of my eczema is acting up significantly, which, again, when our body is stressed, it comes out in our skin. It just, our body telling us something, and maybe it's eczema on my shins. I don't know, but on Easter, I was kind of embarrassed because it's really red. It's not a tiny spot. It's a significant area of my shin. And so I had to put makeup on it because I wanted to wear a skirt. And in order to do that, we had to cover up some stuff. So yeah, I just don't know what's happening. I don't know which way is up, which way is down. I don't know. It's a ride. Life is a ride. My body's not happy with me. And it's interesting because I think I just kept saying to myself, just get to Easter. Once Easter is done, I even had penciled in my planner to take a nap the day after Easter. And I was looking at that. I was like, oh, you silly girl. Your daughter's shower is the next weekend. You don't have time for a nap. I did take a nap, but I didn't have time to take a nap. But one would argue you didn't have time not to take a nap because you do have to take care of yourself. But, I saw this meme on Facebook because I'm back. I took time off of Facebook and Instagram. It was so funny because I feel like I missed a lot of things, which is fine. It's totally fine. It was so good for my soul, so good for my mind. I highly recommend everyone do it. But it just, I lost my train of thought. I'm back on Facebook, and where was I going with that? Oh, I saw a meme. See? Oh, that was faster than I thought it would come back. I saw this meme that said, so you think Easter is over and you think that you get a break. No, there's Mother's Day, there's Father's Day, then there's Memorial Day, then you're doing all the planning for the VBS. We're doing VBS this year. I'm not doing VBS. My friend Jennifer is doing VBS, so pray for her. It's our first time doing it, and she had us over dinner, and I was like, whoa, girl, this is a lot. So, but yeah, it's just kind of one thing after another that keeps going. I think it's a myth that things are going to slow down. We say this all the time. When things slow down, it's a myth. It's an urban legend. It's never going to happen. We are continually going to keep going at this incredibly fast pace with our bodies wicking out and rashes in places. I don't know what's happening. It's a wild ride. And here's the thing. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. Some of you are like, you do sound like that. Because everything is going super well. Like all of these events went super great. Last time, I believe I talked to you about the Journey to the Cross. And I was like, it's our first time doing it. I felt very nervous about it. I felt like, okay, I'm going to trust because I felt like I was being obedient about it. But even when you trust, you can still have nervousness. And even before it opened, I just like walked around. I was like, okay, God, I can't, but you can. This is something you asked me to do. And so I'm just trusting that this is good. And I'd be happy if 100 people came through here. And the event went so well. We had between 350 and 400 people that walked the Journey to the Cross. It was so humbling to see people walk out with just tears streaming down their face and just saying, thank you for giving us this opportunity. Again, so many different hands went into it. First of all, the painters. I couldn't have done it without you guys. I already have things ticking away in my brain for next year, but even parents telling me that their kids understood what Good Friday was about, that they, had nailed their sin to the cross together as a family. They had taken communion as a family together. And it was just super humbling and just super amazing. So like I said, good things, amazing, not just good things, amazing things happening. But just a lot going on at the same time. Like we went and picked up, well, I shouldn't say we. Paul went and picked up our son from completing his first year of college. I feel like I just did the podcast of talking to you guys about sending him to college. That whole process, you've been on the ride with me at getting accepted and then going to college and dropping him off and all of those things that we have done. And I'm just like in awe that he's finished. Like he's done. Like the whole first year. Where did it go? I do not know. It's just zipped by super fast. And I was actually in Grand Rapids getting ready for our daughter's shower. And so Paul was up to bat to pick up Joseph from school. And this is interesting because the other two kids, I have moved them from their dorms all 4 years of college. I have moved them all over the place. And I couldn't do Joseph. I needed to be in Grand Rapids. And so Dad was up. And I gave him all the boxes, all the bags and stuff like that. He texts me, I'm not sure we're going to get all this stuff in here. And I'm like, I have faith that they can. And he's like, I think we have to leave the box fan behind, which we can buy a new one. And then he was like, we rearranged and we got it in there. And the only thing that got left behind was his mattress pad, which apparently got ripped in the shuffle of things. And so he did it. He got him moved out. And now, again, like I said, now it's not like, his room is trashed, you guys. Whew. Okay, I can't walk in there. Don't tell him, but I can't walk in there because there's just stuff. He's home, so he might hear me talking about this. But I walked in there and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff. But he did work on it till like 3 in the morning. This is a college person's, um, you know, what they do. They stay up till 3. Crazy. I came out and I checked or something and I saw his lights down. I'm like, oh my gosh, go to bed. But anyways, he's like, I'm free from college for 2 weeks because we actually got him home and now we need to pack him up to go to France because it's going to do a study abroad. It's a year of college in 6 weeks. So I don't know. I thought I'd be really nervous about him going, but I think because he has done so well at college, and I mean, he goes to a large university. It's not a small one like my girls did. And my most inward child has blossomed and really grown. He's grown so much. I don't know. I feel like he's ready for this, and I feel a lot of peace about it. Now, I haven't dropped him off at the airport yet, so that might be a different story when I drop him off at the airport. But at the moment, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. He still needs his mom, even though he's like so grown. He had texted me. He was like, Mom, I have this rash. What's up with us and rashes? And he was like, and I got bit by a dog. How does one get bit by a dog? That's what I asked. And he was like, well, I was playing with this dog and I had the ball and it jumped up and bit me. And so he had to go get a shot and stuff like that. But so I'm still needed to a certain level and degree, and I'll take it because I don't know, we still want to be needed. So I do worry about that, like him, if he needs a doctor and he assures me he's on top of all of this stuff, he's going to be good. But yeah, so the name of this podcast is called Change. And the Rollings, our family in general, is about to have some big changes to it. And the thing with change is like that our personal life, it affects not just our personal life, but it affects everything else that I do in my life, other parts of my life. And with Amanda getting close to her due date, by the time you listen to this will be about almost 5 weeks away from her due date. I have been asking myself this question for a while, like when she has this baby, how am I going to keep all of the things on my plate? The amount of things that I have on my plate, how am I going to be accessible to her and still keep all of those things on my plate? And it's a very good question, and I haven't really had an answer for it, to be honest. But my deepest desire as we start to have this change in our family is to be with her as she starts this new journey of becoming a mother and just being available for her. I feel like that is very important. Paul and I both share that desire to be available as much as possible, to be involved as much as possible in our new grandbaby's life. We don't know what it is. So, and we've made that known to our kids for years that when we had grandchildren, when that ever happened, that was something that was super important to us. And it's very important to our kids as well. I think for our kids, they have watched grandparents come to all of their friends' events and be super involved. And my kids just never had that. My mom is been on the mission field for most of their lives. My dad lives in another state. Paul's parents were, it was challenging for them physically to be at things. And so there just wasn't that connection of like, whatever was going on. I mean, I see it all the time, and I applaud you if you're a grandparent and you do that you have that ability. And I would say if you aren't taking advantage of that, it means the world to grandkids. My kids definitely have yearned for that. They've understood, but they've at the same time yearned for it. And I've seen the effect that you have as a grandparent when you are at those things. I watch those kids really happy to see their grandparents and to feel all that support and all that love. And I just applaud you if you are that grandparent. And if you're not, change it. Go change that. And so, yeah, I think that that's been a big thing for our family. We've wanted to provide something different than what our kids had received. And it's a priority. I like to steal this from our youth pastor because I think it was the first, I don't know if it was a message or whatever, and I've shared this with you before, but he talked about having values, family values. Like when he was engaged to his wife now, and he talked about how like there were going to be values and everything else you kind of would take and, put it next to that value. Does this equal us doing this as a family? Does it equal this value? And I think for our family, this was a super important value. And I want to just take a side note and just say, if you have not experienced something in your family, don't continue it. Often it's what we've been taught, we continue. Maybe we don't know how to change it. Ask somebody who's doing something that you look. I mean, I have asked people like, how do I get that? Like, I want that. I wanted my kids, and I've shared this probably a couple of years ago, but I wanted my kids to be loving towards each other. That was super important to me. And I saw a family who was like that. The Thomas family, they were so loving to each other. Actually, it wasn't the Thomas. That's her married name. Brennan, the Brennan family. They were just like, their kids loved each other. And I asked the mom, I said, I need to know how to get that because I want that. And she shared her tips and her tricks with me, and I implemented them. And I can say, do my kids love each other all the time? No. But there's a genuine desire to be around each other and a genuine love that they have for each other. And so if you don't have something in your family, don't just continue with that. Look at someone's family and say, I want that. How do I get it? And implement it. Change it. We're going to do that a lot. Change it. Do something different. And so that's something we're going to do in our family. We're going to change that grandparent to grandchild relationship. We're going to make something different for our family than what we have experienced. And the thing too that's interesting is I think sometimes grandparents think that they can just float in and out of the kid's life. Now, some kids maybe are fine with that. My kids, this is a blessing and a curse, but they're very intentional humans. They definitely know when someone really wants to be invested with them. Time and energy and love is something that's very important to them. So when someone isn't giving them that, and then all of a sudden they show up and they just think, oh, I'm just going to impart all this stuff to you, my kids are like, that's a no. Like I said, a good and a bad thing. But they want someone consistently to do those things. And since we saw a lack of that in our children's life, we knew that this was a value that we were going to be involved in our grandchildren's life. And with our grandbaby going to be a couple hours away from us, it's not down the road. Like, I am very jealous in a good way, not like a totally jealous way, but my friend Carmen, her grandbaby is close to her. Like, that's beautiful. I celebrate it. I think it's amazing. But when your grandbaby's not by you, you have to be intentional in a different way. You're going to have to figure that out. And as you know, my life is a little crazy, a little busy. And I'm not saying my life is more busy than anybody else's, okay? Not at all. But there's something new coming, and my plate is full. So something has to give. So what is it? What is going to give? And sometimes we have to stop and we have to evaluate what it needs to give. Now, one of our first things that we might go to a place in our head when we have to evaluate is we see something and we like, okay, it takes up a big chunk of my life, and that is a lot going on there. So just stop doing that. Well, here's the thing. And maybe you're not like that. Maybe you're like, well, I just figure it out. But maybe you're the personality that's like, oh, that's taking up my time. So then I guess I need to quit it in order for it to not take up my time. It was interesting because a friend of mine, she works online, like she does social media stuff. And she just felt like social media was eating up a lot of her time. And she is a Mimi. And so she was like, when I'm with my grandchild, I want to be super intentional. So how do I keep that online presence and that maybe I'm going to have to give that up? And we were talking about it in in my women's group, and we were discussing it. She was just sharing her heart about it. And someone brought up, they're like, maybe it's just a boundary thing. Maybe you just need to work on your boundaries with social media, which is interesting because I just read a quote this morning that said, we often, when we're overwhelmed with something, we just want to put a period. We want to say, okay, I'm going to put a stop to that. When maybe all we need is a comma. Maybe there just needs to be a little shift, a little change, a little comma to do something different. And that's exactly what she did. She has some mentors and they talked her through it, helped her understand her time, like how to divide her time a little bit more evenly and in a way that was good for her family, her grandbaby, all of those things. And she's like, it's so much better. We don't have to just like swipe something off the plate. That's my point. We can just say, okay, maybe sometimes it's on the plate, but maybe it's, how you have like a little, I don't know if we do this as much in our eating, but my grandma was super proper and we would have our main plate, but then you have like your little plate, like, or your salad plate, okay? Or your rolled plate, whatever. You have the little plate on the side. Sometimes like it gets on the main plate, but then sometimes the comma is it sits on the little plate to the side. It doesn't have to be the main dish of our life all the time, but sometimes it can come over and it can be a part of the main dish, but then it can also go to the little side plate. Does that make sense? I don't know, that just popped into my head. So my brain's working, you guys. This is good news. Watch, I'll really mess up something. But yeah, so with change, sometimes it doesn't have to just be a full stop. Sometimes we just need to move things around, put it on the side plate, have a little comma. Now, as I have been going through my life trying to figure out what needs to be on the plate, what doesn't need to be on the plate, I have been challenged with all of the things that have been going on. And I will be honest, one of the things that does take up a good portion of my week, because I want to do it well, is the podcast. So for me, there was, and that's just being honest with you guys, it's not because I don't want to do the podcast. I love this podcast. It brings me, just for myself, it brings me a lot of joy. And I want it to continue to do that. I want it to bring joy. I don't want it to bring stress. I mean, sometimes it brings stress, but that's just because mismanagement of time or whatever, or things come up out of the blue and it's just a lot going on. But 99.9% of the time, it brings me absolute joy. And when I was looking at the things, I was like, well, wait a second, I don't want to give that up because it's so important to me. But also it's like, how do I juggle all of these things and do them well? Because when we're overloaded, something is not going to get the attention that it needs. I guarantee it. Something will start to fall through the cracks. And so when I was thinking about like, okay, I have this grandbaby coming, how am I going to do this? And then Amanda had asked me, would you come every other week and watch the baby on Mondays? Because like that's her day where like she's packed. Like she has meetings from morning till night, like 10 o'clock at night she has meetings. This is student life, campus life, because some of you are like, what? It's campus life. She works for a college. And so she was like, that's a really busy day for me. That'd be a great day for you to come. And of course, Paul was like, well, I want to come too. He doesn't want to be left out, you guys. And so it was like, okay, And of course, yes, I'm going to do that. That's a no-brainer. I want to. I'd love to. I'm so excited. But how does that affect me getting everything in that I need to get in the week, right? And so I started praying about it. Like, okay, there's a question mark here and I don't know quite what to do with it. I did ask the Lord, is it time to give up the podcast? Because number one, I never want to keep doing something that he doesn't breathe on and he doesn't give me favor. Otherwise, it's just me talking all the time, which that would be really annoying. But I didn't have a peace about that. Just so you know, I did not have a peace about giving it up. But I also know at the same time, like, I don't think with going there every other week that I can keep up the pace of going there and doing the podcast at the same time. So, and I just want to take a moment here to encourage you, if you find yourself entering a season of change or looking at your plate and realizing there's too much on it, pray about it. I know it seems like obvious, but I don't know about that. Praying, it just changes the atmosphere. I'm not saying you're going to get the answer right away, because I did not get the answer right away, just be honest. But there was just a peace knowing that I didn't have the answer, but God did. And so I just prayed about it. And here's the other thing. Don't make rash decisions. We can be so quick to be like, put the period. Oh, that's too much. Period. Wipe it off. When God's like, whoa. Maybe let's talk about this. Let me reveal some things to you. And if you're in a decision making and you feel confused or you feel overwhelmed, because that's what a lot of times, like, decisions like that, they can feel they can make us feel anxious. Like, what do? We don't know what to do. And first of all, God is not a God of confusion. And we hear this all the time, but we don't lean into it. We hear, but we do not apply. He's not. And in 1 Corinthians 14:33, he says, for God is not a God of confusion, but of peace. And Paul is writing this to the church of Corinth. He's telling them, like, God is not a God of confusion, because there was a lot of stuff going on there. But I feel like it speaks to the character of God. More than that situation, it speaks to the character of God. God is not freaking out over your plate like you might be. He is not stressed about what to keep and what not to keep. He is fully in control. And he wants to give you peace in the midst of your question mark and not understanding or not knowing what you should do. And so I want to encourage you, you don't have to rush into a decision. That's another thing I think we do when we have to make all of these decisions. I recently was faced with that this week. Friday. I don't know. The days all run together. But I was faced with that. Like, I got a call out of the blue. It was just blurted out, this proposal, and basically not even really a proposal. It was just like, this is what we want to do. Okay, this is right. You're okay with this? And I was like, whoa. And it was like, it came at the worst time. I was about to leave. I was getting in the car, getting my car loaded up to go decorate the hall for Amanda Shower, the church for Amanda Shower. And I was so stunned by the request. And like, I was just like, what am I supposed to do? It was just literally like, I felt like just my stomach felt tight. My whole countenance just felt like heavy. And the person kept asking me to make a decision. And not just in that moment, but just like continuing, like calling me, like, we need a decision. And I just had no peace. First of all, I had no time to talk to Paul about it. And we don't make decisions without each other. And just the was just indoctrinated with make a decision, make a decision, make a decision. And it just brought confusion to me and it stole my peace. Every time they pressed me for an answer, I just felt like I would see them on the caller ID and I was just like, I can't deal with this. Like I'm not going to rush this decision. Do not rush decisions. And of course, I felt like sometimes when we feel rushed, we'll feel this like little voice say, but what if it's too late? Like, what if your answer's too late? What's going to happen then? And then I thought, no, if it's too late, then the answer is no. Then I don't have to make a decision. Which Paul and I did take the time when we could breathe to answer. And we didn't do that until we had time to talk, we had time to pray, and we had a clear answer on what we felt was the answer to the question. And taking that time to pray, it did bring peace and it brought clarity. So prayer in your decisions, but also don't rush it. Let it breathe. Psalm 19:2 says, desire without knowledge is not good. How much more will hasty feet miss the way? You could make the totally wrong decision because you're being hasty. Why? Give yourself a moment. Breathe through it. Now, I didn't have that verse at the time. I found that verse and I was like, this is so applicable. I wish I would have had this verse, but I'm going to use this verse in the future. That's for sure. When I feel like someone's making a quick decision or I need to make a quick, no, I need knowledge on this situation. Desire is not enough. And I've learned that through this situation. Desire, you can have all the desire in the world, but without knowledge, And don't be hasty. And Paul brought this verse up to me because he went to the store and he came back and he goes, I feel like the Lord gave me like, let's get together, which goes with this verse, desire without knowledge. Like this person was desiring it. And Paul was like, we need knowledge. We need come, let us reason together. Another passage of scripture that Paul says, let us reason together. Let's put all of the facts on the table and then let's go from there. What is the Lord speaking? Let's feel this out. Let's know all of the ins and outs of it before we just make a decision. And that's exactly what was backing up this question was desire. But there was nothing to back it up. And I think it could have been really, if we would have said yes, I think it could have been really bad, actually. But back to the topic of this podcast of deciding what to do with this podcast. And Kara and I actually ended up going to this amazing little coffee shop that we found. And we were driving and I was like, I wasn't asking her, even though that was a question to me. I was just like, what does she think about the podcast? Where are we going? How is it going? Should we, just see her thoughts kind of thing. And so I said, hey, I asked her those questions and she said, I have an idea. I think maybe we should go to a bi-weekly podcast, to which my spirit recoiled. Just not because of her, but I was just like, well, that wasn't the answer that I thought she was going to give me. And I don't know. I just felt like this. Here's the thing. Another thing, fear. It can just be like a tidal wave. It is amazing the amount of things we can think in a 5-second period. I mean, I literally had thoughts of how on earth could I do that? That means I'm a failure if I go to a bi-weekly podcast. No one's going to listen because they're going to forget about it. I'm going to be disappointing people. I'm going to lose my podcast. It's going to tank. Those are just a few of the things that literally raced through my head in probably less than 5 seconds, probably more like 3 seconds. I don't know. But also I felt a different voice whisper, not a voice of fear, but of calmness. I feel like it was the Holy Spirit. And it was just isn't what she's proposing an answer to the question you've had about this podcast? Don't you love when the Holy Spirit just does like a mic drop moment with you, and you're just like, you have nothing to say back. Like, I was thinking, like, wouldn't me doing a bi-weekly podcast, like, solve keeping everything on the plate? Like, you can keep it on the plate bi-weekly. It's on the plate bi-weekly, and then you can set it off on the little plate the other weeks. It's still there, but it's more doable, it's manageable, and then you can be everywhere that you want to be and continue to do all of the things. It releases you to be fully present with your grandchild when you're with them. You're not stressing, well, when I get home, I got to get the podcast done, and then I got to do this, and then I got to do that, and then I have all my other things that I need to take care of. And then when you're doing the podcast, you can be fully present with them, you guys, when you're doing it. Like, it was an answer to my prayer that I had been asking God for to lead, like, what was I supposed to do? And he gave the idea to Kara. She proposed it without even knowing my struggle. Like, he answered it through her. Like, how amazing is that? Now, do I still have a little fear? Yes, I'll be honest with you. I have fear about it. But I do believe it's time for a new season. And a new season brings new things. It's not a bad thing. Change is not a bad thing. It can be a very good thing. And I'm trusting that he is leading in this direction. And I trust with the prayer of, this has been my prayer of my heart, like, I trust you, God, that you're leading this, but help any part of me that isn't trusting. And I invite you into that prayer with me. If there's something you're like, I trust you, God, but there's this tiny part in your brain that isn't trusting, then say that. Say, God, I trust you. And I trust you with the little part that I don't trust you with. Like, can you take care of that part too, God? Just be honest with him. He knows any part of you that isn't trusting. And this is his podcast. This is not Erin Rolling's podcast. Yes, I'm here. I'm the face you see. But it's also my responsibility to be obedient, to walk into change, to walk into a new season. And change is hard. Even when we know that it's better for us, even when we know it's the right thing, it can still be hard. I remember when we moved from our yellow house to this house, Joseph had a lot of anxiety about changing bedrooms, even though the new bedroom was so much better. It was bigger, it was brighter, it was just better. But he didn't want to leave his old room. It was comfortable. That's what he knew. But he had to change because we couldn't leave him there. He had to come with us. And before you knew it, he loved his new room. And so that's what I'm going to trust in, that even though it's hard and it's something different, that the change will be good for all of us here at Diving at Deeper Waters. Like I said, our family is about to experience change, which means this podcast is about to experience change. And there's a Bible verse that we all know, okay? Again, we say it, but let's put it into practice. And it can bring a lot of peace to our hearts in the midst of the change. It's been bringing peace to my heart. It's Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purposes. Whew. Isn't that good? If you're on the horizon of change, or you're in the midst of change, or any big decisions, I would encourage you to pray. I would encourage you to give God space to speak. Don't rush. Just don't go off desire either. That can get you in trouble. Be aware if your joy is being stolen, like if it's being taken away, if your peace is being taken away. Lean into that and trust that because you love him, right, he will be faithful and he will work all things for your good. So here we go. We are jumping into some new waters. waters that require trust, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this new part of the journey brings us here at Diving into Deep Waters. Thank you for all your love and support as we make these changes, and believing that God will continue to take us deep together. And I love you guys, so let's keep going deep.